In this video, we will discuss how to attach documents to test requests and the system administrative setup that is required to attach both documents at the test request level as well as appending the test request with test data from a machine or data acquisition system. For security reasons, any document type that needs to be attached to a test request must have a corresponding file extension set up for it inside of LabLink. To do this, a system administrator will need to, under their account, go to System Configuration. Once inside of the System Configuration screen, in the upper right-hand corner, you want to use the drop-down menu to go to File Extensions. So if we look at the list of file extensions that we have currently in the system, only these file extension types could be attached to a test request, either from a test requester attaching them manually or from a data acquisition system or piece of test equipment sending this data to LabLink. So in this demonstration, I'm going to set up a couple of new document types or new file extension types. I'm going to set up PDF as well as JPEG. And before I do that, I'm going to create a new file extension category over from the drop-down menu in the upper right-hand portion of the screen. And to do that, I'm going to click on the Create button, and I'm going to call this Documents. And it's important here that I want to make sure that I click the Allow Attachments using file extensions from this category. After we create these new file extensions of PDF and JPEG, we are going to add them to this category, and then we'll be able to attach those to a test request. So I'll click Save. So I now have 3 file extension categories that have been set up inside of this LabLink server. Okay, as we go back over to file extensions, I'm going to click on the Create button, and the first one I'll create is PDF. And I don't need to select this option. This is really intended for test data, and when you have files that continue to increase in size, for example, ProLink data, DSS and DSR files, as you traverse through a test, those files continually get larger and larger. This allows you a mechanism to append that file instead of recopying it every time it changes, and that will greatly reduce your bandwidth. Next option here would be to choose a compression type. Generally speaking, for our data files, we generally do not use compression on those. For something like a PDF file, I think that should be fine. And then lastly, I'm going to select the category that this file extension should go inside of, and that will be documents that we just created. So I'll save that. You'll notice this entry is now here. I'm going to create one more for JPEG. And I'm also going to add this to documents. And I'm going to click Save. So now we've added a couple of new file extension types that we would want to be able to add to a test request. So inside of the test request module, I'm going to go ahead and open up an existing test request. And I'm going to edit this test request. And under the attachment section, I'm going to browse for a PDF file. And I'm going to click Upload. So now that you'll notice that we have this document is here, as well as it can be seen over that there are attachments over on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay, so I'm also going to attach a JPEG. And click the Upload button. And we'll see that this works. So now I have 2 attachments that have been added to this test request. Now to expand on this topic a little bit, we need to talk about test data and how we can add test data to a test request directly. Now many machine types are able to upload test data directly to LabLink to its corresponding test that it is running. Now to do this, there needs to be configuration settings at both the LabLink server level as well as at the machine level. One of the things that's important to make sure that we have set up would be inside of the system configuration window again, and we'll go to our file extensions and our file extension categories. Now we want to make sure that the types of file extensions that our test data reside in are set up here and that they have a corresponding category that they go inside of. So for example, I'm going to go back to our categories here and we'll look at the category called ProLink data. And the file extension types that I have here are required in order to get a full data set off of a dynamometer or a piece of portable data acquisition. Now, once we have a concise, comprehensive list of our file extensions and they've been placed in a file extension category that makes sense for us, we need to actually go to the setup window and we assign file extension categories based upon machine type. So inside of the machine type setup is where we have access to setting up the whitelist. So for example, on an in-vehicle system, if I click here and on the right side of the screen I go to Test Data Extension Whitelist, notice that we actually have both audio files and ProLink data file extension categories have been set up here. If I needed to add additional ones, I can click the Set Whitelist button. Now I'll see that the only extension category that I have available to me is documents, so I could click this and add it. If I needed to remove a category, it's just as simple as clicking the X button there. So now when we have a machine that has been set up to upload data and any of the files that it is generating that match inside of one of these corresponding file extension categories, they will be allowed to be uploaded directly to the test request. So I'll show another setting here, and I'm going to go to Machines, and I'm going to pick one of the in-vehicle systems, so the machine type that we had just added documents to, and I'm going to edit one of these machines. And in the lower right hand corner you'll see that we have test data files can be uploaded by this machine, and this will need to be checked in order for that functionality to work. Once test data has been uploaded to LabLink, we have a couple of different ways that we can access that test data. This topic will be covered in a later video. This concludes our test request attachments and test data configuration setup demonstration video.